A very good evening to everyone who's joined us. Welcome to a joint collaboration between the Maduke and Ndlovu Legacy Trust and the Black Management Forum, hosting Mr. Mteto Nyati in a very special way. So we welcome everybody who's able to join us from the comfort of their own home, the comfort of their office, and ready to engage and listen to what Mr. Nyati has to say about a very interesting topic on personal mastery. Personal mastery. Before we move on, we'd like to call Professor Wiseman Kutlu, who is the chair of the Maduke Legacy Trust, to give us a warm welcome this evening. Professor Kutlu, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Monde. Colleagues, it's really a pleasure for me to welcome you to this special event. As you know, as the Maduke Ndlovu Legacy Trust, we've got a number of events during the year. We celebrate leadership, we promote leadership, and we believe in mutual sharing and learning from each other. We're really privileged this evening to have a very experienced and very successful leader of a very important business of substance, Mteto Nyati. It's my pleasure to welcome you. It's a pity that I cannot see you because I'm just something I didn't get right about the connections, but really I'm honored to have you. I join other BMF members in congratulating you on what you have achieved and expressing our best wishes for you and your business under these difficult times. Yeah, as the Ndlovu Trust, we, of course, we are a project of the Black Management Forum. And the origins of this particular trust, our way of keeping alive the legacy of Lord Ndlovu, who was the president of the BMF during the 90s. And for me, it's a particular pleasure because when I was president of BMF around 92 to 94, he was the chief executive. And we worked together, you know, in talking to the government and trying to influence the changes that we felt were desirable for us as the Black professionals to have space and be part and extend the political transformation to encompass economic transformation. We are pleased when we see that we have the key successes that have been achieved, and Mteto Nyati is also one of the successes that we're very pleased to have this evening. So with those few words, I just want to welcome everybody and thank again I've heard the voice of the Deputy President of BMF. I hope the President is also online, but really it's really a privilege to have this platform today. And I hope colleagues, you'll have time after you've listened, because there's nothing more important in leadership than personal mastery. You can't lead anybody if you're incapable of mastering yourself. So I'm looking with great interest to Mr. Mteto Nyati's remarks. It's really a privilege to have you here, and we hope really all of us will have an exciting evening, and all of us will learn from each other and go out and provide the leadership that the country needs with greater vigor, inspiration, and insights. Thank you very much. Monde, I think take it from there. Take it from there. You facilitate the evening, and then you'll manage it as you like. It's important that I leave it to you actually to introduce our guest speaker this evening.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you very much for those kind remarks, and also for reminding us of why the trust exists. And we can see that our numbers are increasing, which is great. We are sitting at over 240 people have joined us, and it keeps going up. It really is exciting that we're able to get into people's living rooms and that they can participate. And introducing our speaker for this evening, Mr. Mteto Nyati is the Chief Executive of Altron, having joined the company in April of 2017. He is responsible for transforming Altron into a world-class information and communications technology company that does good business while doing good. He was the Chief Executive Officer of MTN South Africa, where he succeeded in returning the mobile company to growth by overhauling employee engagement and transforming customer experience. Over a period of 12 years, Mr. Nyati held various leadership positions at IBM in South Africa and Europe. He later joined Microsoft South Africa, where he was managing director for 6 years. In 2019, Mr. Nyati won the Business Leader of the Year award at the All African Business Leaders Award and the IPM CEO Special Award from the Institute of People Management. He was also joint winner of South Africa's 2013 IT Personality of the Year. In 2004, he was named one of Yale University's World Fellows on Global Leadership. Mr. Nyati is also the author of the #1 bestseller in South Africa, Betting on a Darkie, a book about his life as a shopkeeper's son, family man, and business leader at local and multinational corporates. Mr. Nyati also holds a BAc in mechanical engineering. Mr. Nyati, we are in your hands and we look forward to your submission this evening and your input, and that we can engage after your input. The floor is yours, Mr. Nyati.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Nyati.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Nyati.
Okay. So I'm saying that I'm particularly pleased to have been invited by the Ndlovu Trust to come and engage and talk in the name of Ndlovu. Ndlovu is one of the people that certainly changed the trajectory of my own life. I met him in the early 80s, and he is the person who fought tirelessly to convince a company that I joined, the first company that I worked for, Afrox. He convinced them that they should start offering bursaries to Black students. And I was the first recipient of the Afrox bursary in 1982. And I ended up having to work for them. So he certainly changed my life. He certainly put me where I am today. So I honestly am proud and happy to be talking in his name. The topic of the discussion today, I've chosen to discuss this topic of personal mastery. I think a number of you are here are either managers, aspiring to be managers, or are leaders. And I felt, and going back to Professor Nguhlu's introduction, we cannot expect ourselves to manage anything if we cannot manage ourselves. That's the view that I hold, having now worked almost for 30 years in corporate. And I certainly feel that the work that needs to be done is the internal work first, before we start to think about doing anything on other people. So this topic, personal mastery, is focusing largely on each and every one of us as individuals, the work that we need to do on ourselves. I think the first point that I would like to do before I dive into this discussion is to define my view of what personal mastery is. Personal mastery, I see it as a journey towards understanding of yourself, knowing where you want to go, understanding of yourself, knowing where you want to go, and continuous learning and development to help you to achieve success and life fulfillment. So this journey that we're embarking on is just not a journey for itself. Then there is an objective. You want to achieve success. We want to achieve fulfillment. So that is my definition of personal mastery. Also, I'd like us to look at this quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said that as individuals, we must do what we can with what we have where we are. Do what we can with what we have where we are. I am using this quote deliberately because we all come from different situations. And we sometimes look at our situations and say to ourselves, there's no way that I can be anything given the circumstances that I find myself in. The question that I am asking, and each person should be asking themselves, is, have I done what I can? Have I used all of the resources that I have with me? Yes, I am in this situation, but have I done everything that I need to do to make sure that I move out of the situation? Yes, we can complain about the unfairness of the world. I come from Tabase in the Eastern Cape. We've got our challenges there. Many of you come from different situations. I am challenging each and every one of us. So yes, we accept we are coming from different positions, but have I done all that I can with what I've been given where I am in order for me to move forward? So that's where I would like to start. So when it comes to personal mastery, here are the 6 key elements of it. I would have liked it to have been to go one by one, but somehow it looks like it has shown everything. But be that as it may, I would like to start with self-awareness. What is our understanding of self-awareness? What is self-awareness? In my view, self-awareness is really about the understanding of what you are good at and the things that you are not good at. It's understanding your strengths and also understanding what some people call weaknesses. It's also understanding when you show up in an environment, how do people feel when you join them? You are now going to this group. They can see you coming. What is your impact to this group that you are going to join? Are they looking forward for you to be joining them? Or they're feeling, here he comes, here she comes. Maybe let us duck, let us go. It's that thing. We need to have that deeper understanding of ourselves. We need to have that, because it's through that you can be able to work on yourself. Many of us focusing and been taught to focus on making sure that we eliminate our weaknesses, work on your weaknesses. Yes, you can do that, but my view is that I think we need to put the most effort on the things that you are good at, because the little investment that you do in those areas, that investment multiplies. The results that come through multiply. Yes, manage your weaknesses, but invest the time on your strengths, in the things that you are good at. Continue, because that is who you are. You were brought in here to do those things. Focus on those elements. I look at myself. Many people would, when they define me and they talk about me, say, yeah, the guy here, I know the guy, he's a quiet guy, And clearly when somebody is using that word quiet, it conjures certain images in each and everyone's mind. Clearly, you come with some conclusions about the person that people define as quiet. My observation throughout life is that the things that we've been given for a specific purpose. Sometimes we label them as weaknesses, when in reality, actually, these are the things that we need to be using and embracing. They are supposed to help us to deliver our uniqueness to the world. When I listen and I look at the things that many individuals in life are looking for, my observation is that the first thing that human beings are looking for, top, is not money. The top, most human beings are looking for love. They want to be loved and they want to love. Many human beings, of course, there are exceptions, but many people that are in this world, really, truly, they are looking to love and be loved. But second to that, there's another important thing that many human beings are looking for. They want to be heard. Many people want to be heard. Because that element, the question, the fact that somebody is listening to you, it sends a key message to you. It says that this human being, he recognizes that I exist. It's communicating an element of respect. It says what I am saying is of value. That act of listening, the act of listening is communicating all of that. Unfortunately, we are in this world, there's shortage of people. There is a huge shortage of people that have time to listen to others. Many of us want to be saying our thing. So what I've noticed is that people like myself, the people that do not say much, we tend to be extremely good in terms of listening. We are able to provide one of the key things that many human beings are seeking in this life. So you may sit there and worry about yourself, why am I this guy who is not saying much? When in reality, you've got so much to offer to the rest of the world, because the world is looking for people like you. They want to be heard. So be careful of being trapped again in a situation where people are defining things as a weakness, when in reality it is not. It's something that you can use. So the self-awareness that I'm talking about here is to understand yourself in totality. Think of yourself as well as a leader of a team. If you have no clue who you are, how do you select the people that should be around you if you do not understand yourself? Because the great leaders, what they do, they make sure that the people that they surround themselves with are not people who are like them, but people that complement them. Because the task at hand, if you are a leader, the challenges that we face are so complex. We need different types of skill set for us to be able to address this. Think of my situation. Here is this quiet guy, and he's surrounding himself with people who are exactly like him. Yes, our ExCo meetings will probably be so efficient. In 2 or 15 minutes will be done because nobody is saying much in these meetings. But we will be able to achieve much, not much. So I need, knowing myself, then I start to make sure that the team that is sitting around me, people that are different from me, people who are able to speak, able to challenge things, that's the beauty of knowing who you are. That diversity is the diversity that is required if you are in a leadership position. So that's my first point around self-awareness. The second point is on values. Many people think that, yes, on values, We are born with values. Clearly, I do not subscribe to that. Values, we're not born with values. We get values from the environment that we grow up in, the people that we associate with, our families, our friends. When we start working, when you look back, the things that you consider your values are actually the things that came from the time when you're growing up. What I would like to ask here when it comes to values, it's just like if you are buying a smartphone. If you buy a smartphone, you find that the default setting of that smartphone, maybe it's in Chinese, set on a different time zone. You are now in South Africa, and you are looking, you just switch this thing on. It will not be of use to you because you do not understand Chinese. You have to put and set it up to be in line so that it can serve you, this smartphone. To me, the values are something like that, where we may have been shaped, we may be carrying these values, but then here you are starting work, here you are somewhere. You always have to be asking yourself, these values that I have, how are they helping me in this environment? Do they serve me or not? If they are not, maybe this is the time for me to be changing the settings so that these values can serve me. And this is the thing that many of us do not take the time to reflect on and make the necessary changes. I've come up with a 4 set of values for myself. Those values serve me now, and they've been serving me over the last, I would say, 10 years. The values are: 1 is fairness, 2 is excellence, 3 is integrity, 4 is a family. Those are the values that I have: fairness, integrity, excellence, and family. As I work, as I do the leadership roles that I'm doing, these have helped me so much in addressing some of the many challenges that one faces as a leader. It also ensures that there's consistency in terms of the things that I do. Let's look at the fairness as an example. We're right now just facing COVID-19. And some of you may have heard that as Altron, the executive team of Altron have made a decision to forfeit 50% of our bonuses. We've decided to forfeit those. But at the same time, we've decided to pay the rest of our staff their full bonuses. Then you ask, what is going on there? Is that fair? Fairness, in my view, is not the same as sameness. We should not be confusing. For us in executive roles, we can afford to have our bonuses being cut 50%. But to the people very down to the organization, if you're taking their 50%, you're actually really creating a huge problem for them. So in this case, although we have not done the same things for the rest of our staff, but the way we have constructed this thing is fair, in my view. The people that can take the greatest pain are taking that pain, the sacrifice, and making sure that we look after the people, the vulnerable people that cannot take those sacrifices. But another action that we took, we decided to reverse the salary increases that we've given to staff. And here we've got a situation, all of the people, regardless of which position you are in the organization, we reverse it. And people, how fair is that? We need to make sure that each and every employee feel like they need to contribute. We are sacrificing here. We have to remove your 4%. Your 4%, if you are a very low down organization, it is something. But we need to make sure that you also contribute. That's the fairness part. So fairness is not the same. Depending on the situation, it may not be the same. So we have made some of these decisions, and we're making these decisions driven largely by, I don't think we will have the executive team coming to a meeting and say, hey, Mteto, can we, I'd like to recommend that let us cut our bonuses. There is no such a thing. You are not going to get that from. So it needs to start from someone, probably starting from the leader, who's saying, guys, we need to make sure that we have a business that is sustainable. We need to minimize job losses within the company. And the people that can afford to take some of the bigger sacrifices are us. Yes, we may have planned for some of this, but we can afford to take these sacrifices, and get and rally the people around. But it starts from the value of fairness. It starts from the value of understanding that we need to have an organization that is serving all of its stakeholders, not just one group of stakeholders. So my point about values is that in almost all kind of situations, if you are very clear about your values, those values will be able to help you navigate very, very difficult situations and be able to stand up and be firm. Why am I doing what I'm doing? You'll be able to defend it. The question is, have you taken the time to understand what your values are? Are your values serving you? If not, when are you going to be changing them and replacing them with the things that can serve you? The third point is about the identity. Yes, we are living in a society that is very conscious about identity, not just South Africa, all over the world. We have seen what is happening in the US, Black Lives Matter. That's an identity issue. We faced our challenges here in South Africa. We continue to face some of those challenges. But my point here is that many of us choose to act differently. You're now coming to work and you leave yourself at the gate. And when you get into this corporate, you are this thing. I will call it a zombie that I do not know what it is. But then you connect back with yourself when you're driving back home. I think that route is really a wrong way of doing. There is a reason. There is a reason why we were made black, for those of us who on this call who are black. There is a reason why you were made a colored person, or an Indian person, or a white person. We really do need to embrace who we are and be comfortable of who we are and bring who we are into the environments where we are working. If you're going around for 8 hours, you are this person that I don't know who, and then you connect with yourself when you are leaving to go home, you are denying that organization that has employed you of your contribution, of your uniqueness, of the value, of the insights that you can bring because of who you are. Think about if they want to serve, I don't know, maybe you want to come up with products that are serving your community. Who is going to be bringing that insight about that community? Think about my situation recently within Altron, where as a leadership team, we made the decision that about 2,500 of our employees that have been contractors, for some of them for over 10 years, doing contract work, being contractors. If I'm not bringing myself into Altron as being a black person, and the majority of the people that are contractors there are black people, I am not going to be able to connect with the challenges that those people are facing. The fact that they cannot be able to participate in the economy, they cannot be able to go and buy a house because they do not have anything that demonstrates that these people have got permanent employment, although they have been working for the company for 10 years. So we are being given these jobs. We need to use the power that we've been given to drive the changes that are required. But if you are losing yourself as you get into this job, you're leaving yourself behind, we are not going to be able to drive the changes that we should be driving, having been given the roles that we've been given. So what's the point of giving you the power when you cannot use it? This is my point here, is that we are not going to be able to do the things that we should be doing if we choose to disassociate ourselves with who we are. I've seen very painful things, people saying around the Black Lives Matter, people saying, it is not my fault that I've been born black. Gee, what kind of a statement is that? It's like, yes, it's good that blacks should be handled that way, but I just happen to have been, if I had an option, I would not be that. I think this is something so fundamentally wrong with us. Yes, there's something wrong with the people that are treating us that, but also if you are not embracing who you are, then there's something very, very wrong with yourself. The next point about choosing empowering thoughts. I'll use an example here where I left MTN in 2017, and as I was leaving MTN, taking up this role in Altron, one of the requirements from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is to make sure that when these big decisions like this are made, you announce to the market that, hey, we've managed to get a new CEO. This is what the CEO is bringing to the party. And of course, we did that and announced to the market. You can guess what happened to the share price when this person, me, now I'm being announced. The chances are, anyway, what happened was that nothing happened. It was a non-event, which is fine, In fact, I was expecting that the share price was going to go down, It isn't. So it's a bit of a disappointment on my part because I thought it was going to go down. A few months later, another colleague of mine, who's a friend, took up a similar kind of a role, also in the same kind of ICT environment, and he was announced. And he's of course is a white guy, and the share price naturally, of course, it went up. It did not go up just 2%, no 5% or 10 or 15% on the day. No, it didn't go up 20%. It went up 24%. 24% just because, what has he done? He has done absolutely nothing yet, but it's gone up 24%. And this is normal. Our society, it is normal. And you look at this, you have been in this industry for over 25 years. You have done so much, delivered, you have not really failed, you have not created a mess anywhere. But when you are being announced, it's like nothing has happened. And here you've got somebody, it's like chalk and cheese. Then you ask yourself, you look at this, at the unfairness of this. But guess what? The world is unfair, That's just how things are. Yes, none of us like the situation, but that's how things are, So you don't want yourself to be caught in a situation where you are beating yourself up about this thing. This is how we are living in a racist, bloody world. That's how this world is. It's racist. it is so important that you rise above that as an individual. You find explanations that empower you instead of explanations of things that destroy you, because these things are designed to destroy us, are designed to kill our spirits. You need to always be looking at situation and finding ways to come up with empowering thoughts. So in this kind of a situation, I ask myself the question, who would I rather be? Who would I rather be? Would I rather be this person that gets rewarded before they've done anything? Or would I rather be a person who, when you look at what I've done, once you have seen what I've done, then you reward me? I said, you know what? Maybe I'm cool. I am good with the fact that, this is how the market is treating me. I'm good with that because I'm going to show them. I'm going to show the results. And then when you look at where we are now, the share price on the other side has gone way down, on our side has gone way up, and that's how things should be. So my point here is we are faced with this situation. I've just made this one example. This situation, whether you are a woman and how people think about women, or maybe you are a Muslim, maybe you are whatever, need to rise above all of that. Find ways of creating thoughts that empower you instead of killing your spirit. The second last point I'd like to make is around vision. It is so important to know where you are going. As they say that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Put differently, it says that if you don't know where you are going, you will never be lost, really. It may seem like a comfortable position to be in because you are not going to be lost, but you are not going anywhere. So it is good to know when you are getting lost. You can only know whether we are getting lost if you are clear about where you are trying to go. So that personal vision is something that many of us, need to have. We think of a vision as something that only a company should have. I think it's important that as individuals should have. I remember reading a book many years ago. I think it was 1996. The name of the book is Born to Succeed by Colin Tanner. Born to Succeed, saying that all of us were born to succeed. But of course, it unpacks some of the things that one needs to take to do in order to get. One of them is this thing of a vision. But the vision there, it talks about, you break it into many elements. It's not just the element of, yes, I must be at a career level, I must be successful, I must do. No, there are many dimensions to each and every one of us. There's a financial dimension, there's a career side of things, but there's a family side of things. There's also the spiritual dimension, there's the health. We need to have clarity on all of those dimensions about where do we want to be in the short term, in the medium term, in the long term. For those of you who have read my book, you'll be surprised at, this guy has got records going all the way to the 1990s. It's because at that time I was very clear that at some point in the future I would be writing a book. So as I'm going along, I'm busy putting together the things that I know I will need when the time comes. But I had sat down at some point to say, in the future, I would like to be writing a book. So it's not a surprise now when I have to write a book, I've got the material already because I've been accumulating it, throughout my adult life. I also when you look there, you have to be very clear about your own relationship. Relationship with your better half. What kind of a relation? I want to have a great relationship with my. What does great mean? You need to unpack that. Be clear. Be very much more clear. What kind of? How do you want to treat your wife? Be very clear. the kind of environment when you come back home, what kind of environment you like to have when you come back home, you know. And that, yes, I know you say, gee, you have to go to that, all of that level of detail. If you don't write it down, if you do not put it, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen by chance. You know, we have to be deliberate around these things. Relationships are not easy things. We have to work on those things every day, which means you have to start by asking yourself, what kind of a relationship do I want to have? And be clear about that. The last point I'd like to make is on discipline. Yes, this one is probably one of the most boring ones, because we think that, yes, you know, discipline, we get that, you know. I look each and anybody who has been successful in any field of life, whether you're talking athletics, or music, swimming, you know, whatever, in career, in jobs, in anything, there's something that is common, all of them. It's discipline. Boring, but it's the most effective thing. You have to have discipline. Here, I'm going to mention just maybe 2 examples around discipline. The first one is, as the CEO of Altron in past, MTN or Microsoft, you'll have people say, hey, boss, can we have a dinner with my customer? Yes. As a CEO, I need to go and connect with the CEOs of the other companies and help my teams to be able to create an environment where they're able to sell in those customers. But if you're asking me to have a dinner with your customer, to me that's a no-no. You know, I'm a morning person, so by 4:30 in the morning, I'm kind of like, you know, already up. You know, so I cannot be up in the 4:30 and still be up at 11 o'clock. It's a huge problem in the evening. I can't do that. So for me, dinners with customers is not something that I do. It's not that I don't value customers. It's just that it's something that I don't do. But of course, I can do breakfast with a customer. I can do a lunch with a customer. But please don't invite me for dinner with a customer. That's the time that I've set for myself to have my time with my family. I need to be with my family, dinner with my family, because I've left so early in the morning. Of course, that was before COVID-19. So you think, oh, you cannot do that. Yes, you can. You can do that. You need to be disciplined. If you are not drawing the line, nobody will ever draw that line for you. The discipline is very, very important. So in that way, I'm able to balance my life. I'm able to serve the customer, my organization. Yes, I'm available for breakfast. I'm available for lunch. Use me. And guess what? Most of the time, the customers would love to do breakfast because they would like to also to be with their families in the evening. The other example around discipline is the choice of people that you surround yourself with, you know, the people that you are hiring. The easiest of things, I've seen now that I've written the book, most of the people, they know that Bele is my clan name. So there's so much request for this and that, and people are leading with the Bele thing. Hey, I'm Bele, and I'm looking for a job kind of thing. The easiest kind of thing to do is, of course, to hire those people. But I cannot afford to do that. It's a wrong thing to do. You know, one needs to be disciplined to say no. You know, is this the right person for the job? Fact that he happens to be related is irrelevant. You know, is this person the right person? Is this what is this person bringing into the equation? You know, so I'm just using that as an example. Another one is you think about how close one is to his or her direct reports. You find in some cases that some of the direct reports, people reporting to you, are so close to you, but other members of your same team are not as close, and you have created this inner circle as a leader. But there are people that are not part of that. It is very important that all of the people that are reporting to you, you treat them, you try because the human nature is you want to be close to others. You try to make sure that you support all of them. You want all of them to be successful. You're not only choosing. As the CEO, I need all of my team members to be delivering, not only just that one or that one, those who are closest. No. My job is to make sure that all of them feel like they are being supported, and I'm giving them the support, and I'm removing the blockages for them to be successful. That is my job. I've got a responsibility to all of them, not just a few of them. So with those few words, I would like to say, yes, these are my thoughts, but of course, I'm keen to engage you on your questions on any of this topic. What I've just said, or more, even more than what I've just said. So with that, I would like to go back to you, facilitator. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Baba. That was indeed a mouthful and a half. So we thank you very much for that input. Would like to just check quickly with you, Baba. Are you able to enable your camera?
Yes.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. Just to note everybody on the platform, can you please send your questions on the platform that you'd like Babu Nyati to address and engage as we discuss this issue of personal mastery. Just to kickstart it off on my side, Baba, the whole issue of betting on a Darkie, the title of your book, and that concept of betting on a Darkie in relation to personal mastery, how do you link the two? And because I think it's a really powerful statement that we should bet on a Darkie, and it's quite a catchy phrase. So how would you link personal mastery and the necessity and the need to bet on a Darkie from your perspective?
So, yeah. So, Chair, you may have heard me saying that we need to embrace our identity. I'm a black guy. And it's very important that people should understand, I am who I am, and I've got no problems with who I am. Yes, people will say, okay, the word Darkie is being used by some people in a derogatory way. Yes, there are some people who choose to do that, but we use this word in an affectionate way. Ourselves, we refer to ourselves as Darkie. So why do we want it to be? How do we allow other people to define who we are? I'm really there saying I'm not going to allow them to define who I am. I'm a black person, and I choose to. Yes, I'm a Darkie, and I'm saying that all that we need, we're not looking for handovers. We are looking for opportunities. This is the concept of betting. We need to look around. Many people say that, hey, they are self-made. There's no such a thing in my mind. There's no such a thing as a self-made person. Many of us have been helped by others. I've mentioned how Lord helped me, and many people along the way, they bet on me. They didn't know anything. They made a bet. They created opportunities for me. And this is what I'm doing for others. And I'm saying we need to make a bet on other people. Just give people the opportunities. We are living, unfortunately, in a world where opportunities are already there for some groups. So I'm not going to be calling for people to be betting on whites, because already the society is betting on them, But there are other groups of people that the society is not, and I'm saying we need to create opportunities for those people, and right now we kind of, like, as Black people, are kind of seen as in the bottom of the food chain, and I'm saying we need to give people opportunities. And guess what happens when people are given opportunities? Great things can happen. Great things do happen, which transform lives, But it goes on your question, where does it come in? I am embracing my Blackness. I'm embracing my identity through that title.
No, thank you very much, Baba. I think it can also be a very powerful hashtag, bet on it, Darkie. It kind of deals with the narrative and challenging the narrative that Darkies should be betted on. So, it should be part of the narrative of daily life as you engage. Bet on it, Darkie, and affirm that indeed you can trust the Darkie. Here's a question from Togozani Sihlangu. Togozani says, how do you balance competing priorities in your life? So work, family, personal health, and other priorities.
Look, for me, what has helped me is the values. You may have seen that one of my values is family. So clearly, if I value family, I must make time for family. I must not just have the time for work only. So when they see me leaving at 6 o'clock, going home, oh, look at this Black guy. Of course, he's a lazy Black guy, is leaving at 6 o'clock. I don't care. I am going home that time. I have to have, because I was there when, before any of them come. So how do we balance? Discipline. I've mentioned this thing, that self-discipline I was talking about. There will always be a requirement for you to do more for others. If you do not draw the line, nobody's going to draw that line for you. The work, you will never finish work. It will always be there. We die, somebody else will continue. So if you do not draw these lines, that's one thing. The other thing is surround yourself with people that are capable. You cannot be the one person who is doing everything there. Your company depends on you. If you're not there, then things are not happening. Then there's a problem, if that is the situation. You should have a situation where even if you can be out of that environment for a month and things are going, and that's okay. That's how it shows how good you are in terms of selecting people, the right people to be doing things. So yes, if your job demands you to be there 24 hours, and if you a little bit, if you cannot give the 24 hours, then there's a problem. Then you are in. Yeah, we've got a big problem. So it's discipline. And in my case, I've chosen family as a value. So I need to live that value.
Baba, as you're talking, I'm also hearing in the background the issue of understanding that there's only one of you. There's not many of you. So because there's one of you, you've got to apportion yourself accordingly in what you're involved in. And especially in the work environment, once you are removed, you are easily replaceable in that environment. But in general, I think I'm also hearing that there's one of me, and therefore I need to prioritize myself and my values because there's only one of me.
Yes, I mean, I look at my case. I touch on this in my book. Say we've got, wherever I go, we come up with what we call strategic priorities, the things that the company needs to focus on, those strategic priorities. And a lot touched on this when he was giving his speech, when that video. He said staff and customers, if you're looking at customer satisfaction, staff satisfaction, there are two things that are always consistent with me wherever I go. There will always be priorities. It's the people and it's customers. The other two will depend on the environment that I find there, but these two are always consistent. Look after the people, create the right climate for them, they are going to look after customers. Everything else follows. And it looks so simple, but we just don't do it. He mentioned about creating an environment where people are looking forward to come to work. That is our job as managers, to create that environment, and that's why I always have that as a priority. So people will ask me, okay, how do you decide which meeting to go to? Here are all of these competing priorities. We've got four priorities as a company, as Altron. It's revenue growth. It's about improving profitability. That's the second one. The other one is employee excellence. The other one is transforming customer experience. Those are our four priorities. If it is one of those, if I've got to go and engage with a customer, I go there because it's driving the revenue growth. It's about I have to go and engage with staff. And have a town hall meeting and discuss certain things is part of our priorities. If it is not one of those, maybe somebody else can do it. But I reserve myself for this. These are the priorities, and everybody should see that these are our priorities as a company. So that helps me a lot.
No thanks, Bob. Here's another question from Swazi Gunene. Should it not be mandatory for all companies to train all their managers on people management skills where self-mastery is a topic?
Yeah, I think all of us as human beings, because we need to manage, even if you're not managing anybody, when you go home, you're actually a manager of your environment, So self-mastery is something that we all need to have as a base. It's something that we need to have as a base. But you are correct. Managers, yes, it's something that they need to be trained on, but many other things. For me, the role of the manager is not about the control. It's about enabling others. It's about creating that great environment, safe environment for people to realize their potential. This is not, I spent joining Altron, we spent almost 3 months coming up with values. And people think, values, these are soft things. Tell us about something hard. Why would you spend all of this time looking at values? And other people say, you need to be focusing on strategy. Don't focus on values. Focus on strategy, and values is one and the same thing for me. And you join Altron, here is this Afrikaner environment that you get into. How was that culture? Did that culture accept you? Hey, you're asking me if this culture accepted me. What is my job as a CEO? Isn't my job to create the culture that we need, not to take the culture that is there. I need to change the culture that is there and create the right culture that is going to help us to be successful, a culture that is more inclusive. It should not be, did it accept the culture? My responsibility as a leader is to change that culture. And one of the tools of changing the culture is values, is to instill a new set of values and make sure that people are being measured on these new things. Are being paid around this. That's how you change the culture. It goes to the values. You may think that these are soft things, but it's like the software. The software any organization is the values. The hardware is everything else, but the software, without that software, you are not going to be able to get the results that you are looking for. And go those values.
No, that that indeed, Baba, is very, very, very powerful input there on values. Just to stretch it a little bit, the whole question of values, and now looking at the broader South African public, and when you look at our history of getting into a post-democratic South Africa, and how those values began to be challenged based on the opportunities of the black middle class getting into, and now debunking some of those values that we grew up with. So we started to see now black leaders debunking those values and behaving in a way some of us wouldn't ever expected. So now it's starting to seem like, as much as many of our leaders today in cutting across all sectors may talk here and there about values, but in and of themselves, they don't inherently actually believe in good social values, and it plays itself out in either closing doors for other black people and scrambling for opportunities, what Ndlovu always used to talk about as well, that black people got confused after post-democracy in 1994, that the opportunities opened up and black people got confused. White people thought by building a school there and a clinic there, that's the full measure of transformation. So both groups missed the whole point of what Mandela was intending through a good set of social values. So what would be your input in terms of drawing us all back into this fold of good social values that actually are the center, the heartbeat of our survival as leaders, not just in management, but in society as large?
So I would say that the challenge sometimes is we are not as transformational as we should be. We are given these roles. We then want to keep the status quo. It's a safe thing to do, just keep the status quo and don't rock the boat. It's safe to do that. But clearly we are missing a great opportunity. Like I made just this example now, and this example of inheriting an environment where a significant number of people have been contractors, and that's clearly not right. So as a black leader in that environment, if it continued, I would blame myself. Why is the situation continues to be like this after me being there for such a long time? What have I done to change that? So these are the things that you don't have to be doing big things, but there are many opportunities like that. When you have your EAP program, employee assistance program, that does not maybe is not sensitive to other cultures, because other people go and consult different types of people spiritually, right? But if you've got your EAP program that does not take that into consideration, it's like the other group of people who we have here do not exist. If we do not change those things, then what is our job? So that's the element. That's one thing. But the other piece that I would like to bring is it's one thing to be expecting one leader, a group of leaders to be making all of these big changes, but all of us have got a responsibility. Wherever we are in the organization, we have a responsibility. Don't look at Mteto Nyati sitting there. We need to be making the changes where we are. How are people feeling like? You are now a black manager, still way down there in the ladders of the organization. How are people feeling like working for you there? What kind of climate have you created for the people working for you? Are they excited to be coming to work? Those people. Forget about the CEO. You now. It's very easy to point fingers at. What are you doing in your environment? Are you creating an inclusive environment where you are able to bring different people and bringing and creating that environment where everybody feels like they are part of the company? And I'm going to be mentioning this point because think about this thing. We make a mistake. Yes, probably many of you are going to shoot me when I make this statement, but I'm going to be making it anyway because I think we make a mistake. We make a mistake. We go and I get appointed. I'm excited. I go to a job, and my first week in the job, I bring everybody. I tell everybody, hey, this is Mteto, blah blah blah, and guess what? Our priority as a business is transformation. You know, this is my first week in the job, and I'm telling them our priority is transformation. You'll think, oh, what's wrong with that? Of course, transformation has to be a priority, but is that the right time to be saying this thing? You know, your first week. Think about the other 40% of people that are listening to you, because when you're talking transformation, I don't know, what does it mean to me as a colored person, as an Indian person, as a white person? Here is a black CEO coming and saying this thing. It's like, for you, you may think that, yeah, you know, I'm good, I'm actually talking to everybody, but to those people, what are they hearing? What are they hearing when they hear you say that? What are they hearing? They are hearing that there is no future for us. There is absolutely no future. That's what they are hearing. That's not what you are saying, but that's what they are hearing. As leaders, we need to be sensitive to that. We need to be really sensitive, because now in your first week, the people that some of them could be, your allies could be helping you, they have made a decision that first week. They have made a decision that that bagger, that guy, that one who's there, I will do whatever it takes to make sure that he fails. You have done that in the first week, 40% of your staff. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but I'm just saying, when people then leave a year later, you cannot trace it back to some of the things that one have said, but most of the people that you have alienated as you're coming, these are the people that are in senior roles that you need in order to drive this transformation that you need. So I'm saying that we do need to be thinking about lead with an inclusive vision, where each and every member of the organization can see themselves in this vision that we're talking about. Immediately we say, like now, let's zoom out to South Africa. South Africa, we're looking at South Africa. Yes, our people. The president is standing up, saying, this is what I want to do for our people. Does everybody feel like they are part of this, our people? I don't know. I don't think so. It might be just it looks like a small thing, but there is a significant percentage of the community, of the people of this country who feel like he is not talking about me when he's saying our people. It's just that's not what he intended. He never intended that, but he is clearly, it's these things, the mistakes that we make. We are creating visions that are exclusive of others. We need each and every resource of this country helping us to address the challenges that are facing this country. All of the people, even the guys that had the advantage, let's use that advantage to help us to address the bloody problems that we have, instead of pushing them out of the country. So this is the same thing in organization. You need the same people who are going, once they know that they are safe, you'll be surprised how much they can be passionate in driving the transformation agenda, because they can see that they are part of the future. They will be going out of their way. So I'm just saying, tactically or strategically, we really do need to be careful in the way we go about driving this agenda. It's an important agenda. It needs to be done, but bring everybody with you.
No, thank you. No, thank you, Bob. We're looking at the time as well. We also don't want to overstretch you.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you'd like to take maybe last question or two last questions.
Two last questions.
Last questions. Okay. So I'm sorry to the platform. There's so many questions here, so I have to choose one. Here's a question from Gift. Mr. Nyati, in your book, you stated, "Show me heroes in your generation, I will tell you about their future." What advice do you have for this young generation, especially because we're closing Youth Month tonight, actually? So it's a befitting question.
I think, look, to me, that this young generation is looking up to someone, right? You know, and so I would like to say to these people, the people who are on this call who are already in occupying leadership roles, somewhat, it could be a manager. How are you showing up? What example are you showing? You know, to the people that are looking at you, because many of us are role models. What are we modeling? What are we communicating? Without saying it, but the way we're living, what are we communicating? Are we communicating that stealing in our companies, you know, that's the way to go? You know, is that what we're communicating? If that is what they are going to be doing, you know, you know, it is so tough in some of these environments to have a message about corruption. You know, we took a decision in our company recently to get rid of about 3 of our of the leaders of the business that clearly were not aligning with the way we do things. It was not an easy decision to do that, but it was an important decision because first, a number of our employees have used the processes that we have created. It's called whistleblowing processes, tip off. You know, they've used that process to highlight that, hey, we've got people here that are not living our values. Guess what? These people happen to be senior people. Then what do you do as a leader? You know? So it was a test on us as leaders. We have to act, and we did take the action. So it was very, very clear in our company that this kind of thing, we do not tolerate this thing. Look at what happens to people who do these kind of things. But it reinforces, you know, the people that have used the process. It continues to happen. Look, people take action. So that's how people they look at those examples. This is what I mean. You know, what kind of examples are we showing in the way we lead? You know, that is what I would say. The people on this call, you need to look at yourself. Look at yourself. How do you show up? What are people learning when they're looking at you? When they're looking at you, maybe put differently, something different now. Would you hire yourself? If you were hiring, knowing all that you know about yourself, would you hire yourself? Or would you say, I'm not going to hire me, I'm going to hire somebody else? Or put differently, would you work for you? Would you work for you? Or you say, no, I would rather go and work. If you cannot work for you, what is it that you need to change in you so that you can work for you? Because you know yourself, you know how you treat people. Is this how you know? That's how we need to be looking at ourselves. So yeah, I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you, Bob. The very last question, and again, we apologize to the platform, is from Sia Zondane. I think it's quite an interesting question. Mr. Nyati, how do you deal with failure? And please give us an example of how you have emerged from failure personally or professionally.
Oh, there's been so many failures in my life. Failure, look, none of us are excited about failing. You know, dealing with failure is always a painful thing. But one need to understand that in order for you to learn, in order for you to grow, you need to go through failures. Failures actually lessons. You are gaining lessons about life, about how to do things. You know, you sit down, you know, maybe you are a junior manager, you're sitting down with your employee, you are doing a performance appraisal. That whole meeting just does not go right at all. You end up being escalated to the most senior people in the organization because you did not handle it right. That's learning. It's a part of the learning process. You should not be. Yes, grow, but if you continue to make the same mistakes, then there's a problem. The key is to always look at growing out of those situations. I'll make an example. When I was in Paris, I had been sent by IBM there on assignment, and I found myself in an environment where there were not many people like me. It was a very difficult environment, and I knew that I was being judged for who I am. So I kind of like wanted to show that, I have what it takes. And one of the key meetings that we're having, I was supposed to present to this Europe, Middle East, and Africa team. It was like a conference of just about 2,000 people there. Here I am, I'm presenting. How I showed up there, it was terrible. I messed things up big time. And it's like I chose the best platform to go mess up. And you are there, you've just arrived, and many people have been asking themselves, why are we having a person like this here? Does he qualify to be here? Here I am messing up in a platform like that. I've brought my entire family to Paris, and now here we have a situation where very likely, based on what the mistake that I've made, which I'm going to share what that mistake is, I could be sent back home. It's not the best thing. A few months ago, the entire number of your friends and relatives and everybody else sent you to Paris. Hey, we'll see you, and then the next thing you are back. It's not something that you want to do. What did I do? Why did I not do right? I did not. A lot of people had offered to help, but I wanted to demonstrate that I can do it. I did not use the help. I did not ask for feedback. As you're putting together this kind of a presentation, you go, there's nothing wrong to asking from colleagues to critique you, to add here and add there. How does what I'm saying connect with everything else that's going to be said in this conference? It's not just about you. You need to connect with everybody else, and I never did any of that. I never used the help that was offered. Many of us don't do that for different reasons. We sometimes think that it is a sign of a weakness if you're asking for help. I learned then that it is, for me, when I've been asked, in fact, even if people have not offered help, I go and ask for help. So asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So that's what I learned. I nearly put my entire family at risk, being ridiculed. I've rooted them. They resigned in their jobs here in South Africa to leave, and then make this kind of a mistake. That was not right. That was irresponsible of me. So that's one of the mistakes. It's just one. Many in my life, like all of us, who've made many mistakes. I'll take one.
So, Baba, did you say you'd take one more question?
Yeah.
Okay. The last question from Kopano. Based on your statement of bringing people with you, how do you suggest navigating Black economic transformation in a more radical and robust way without being apologetic then?
So come back again. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
So Kopano is saying, based on your statement of bringing people along, how do you remodel in your application of Black economic empowerment as a leader of an institution?
So I think we need to ask ourselves the question: what kind of a society are we trying to build? If you see Mteto Nyati, having a whole team that is black, and you are applauding me for having that, I think that's a big mistake. That's a big mistake. You know, say, oh, it's such a transformed company, all of them are black. I think that's a big mistake, because in my view, we need each other. Of course, people should be there in line with the relative, the demographics of the country. You know, they should not be overly represented. You know, we should be in line with the demographic. But if you have a situation where all you have under you is, you're actually doing exactly what you are fighting, in my mind. So we need to be truly careful about this thing and be careful. In fact, you are actually even limiting yourself. So, but in any case, you are asking the question, how do you drive transformation? I'm never apologetic about driving transformation anywhere. Never. You keep, this is very clear. This is what you are trying to do in your hiring. Let's see that if you had 10 people that you had the potential to hire over the last 6 months, if you are only hiring people who are like you, I have a problem. I have a big problem. So that's the statistics that we look at, because that's where you make the changes. If the people that you are promoting, the only people that you are promoting are people who are like you, then there's a problem there. You know, that's where we have tough conversations. And that's the culture that you build in the organization, the culture where we're saying that we need to make sure that when we're doing our monthly meetings, what we are reviewing, when we're reviewing our employees, the movement of employees, we're looking at those statistics. Again, the things that you do not measure, people are not going to be doing anything. If you, as a leader, you need to understand what is it that you need to measure, because that's the thing that people are going to be paying attention to. So I measure the hiring and measure promotion, salary increases, that level of detail. That's the stuff that makes a difference. That's where things change in 3 years. Woo! These guys have done so much in 3 years. It's because of the stuff that we are tracking. You're having the people doing the things that you said, this is a proud of the organization, but you're tracking it. It's not going to happen on its own. You have to do the boring part. The boring part is to engage people, to hold people accountable. When people are not making, you know, as an example, one of our leaders, I'm not going to mention which organization, he was one of the top guys, top in terms of business performance, top. But he was not living the values. He was not embracing this change that I'm talking about. He was out of the business. Top guy, you know, people said he's never going to be touched. That's, you look at those opportunities, you send a signal to the company, because people are looking, what are you going to do? Here you have now here you've got your values, and on the other side, you've got the business performance. What is he going to choose? If you are not dealing with the culture, you're not going to get the results in the end. So culture for me is so important. So deal with that. So with that, let me say thank you for the opportunity, Monde and DP. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bob. We really appreciate your input. I did see some other comments that were saying there should be a part 2 for this. Maybe we can discuss that behind closed doors and see if we can have maybe a series of these with top leaders and continuously get their insight. So I would like the Deputy President of the BMF to just give us closing remarks before we part ways. DP, over to you.
Yeah,
please.
Thank you, Monde. I'd like to start by just greeting and saying good evening to all the members, the BMF members, and potential BMF members, and then to acknowledge Prof. Nkushlu, I don't know if you're still on the line, our past president. I'd like to acknowledge our present President Andile Nomlala, if he's on the line. I'd like to acknowledge your role, Monde, as the facilitator. I think you've done a great job. And then most importantly, our guest speaker, Nyati. I've personally had, I think the Bele clan is a clan of excellence, because I've had the privilege on another platform, on another BMF platform, to engage with your brother, Dr. Nyati, on mental issues, which, as you know, it's very important, and there's a lot of stigma around talking about that as Blacks. So I would lastly, and also more importantly, like to acknowledge the spirit of Bralot. I was very fortunate as the company secretary during Ntati Mzwanele Mani's time to have met Bralot in living color. We used to invite him to our board meetings, so we often, these pearls of wisdom just flowed very freely from him. And as Prof. Nkushlu said, the Ndlovu Trust is a project of the Black Management Forum. It's something that we deliberately birthed. It's something that we want to nurture, and it's something that we want to grow. So having topics like personal mastery, I'm gonna try and capture you and do justice, and also just be mindful of time. And I think that speaks to you, what you said about discipline. If I look at what you said, personal mastery is a lifelong journey. It's not a destination. You spoke about discipline and self-awareness as key elements, and I think as the BMF, we can definitely say part of being a BMF manager is having the BMF DNA of discipline and self-awareness. The BMF is also a apolitical, non-racial organization. So I think issues of race can be polarizing, but that, we can't impose ourselves on people and how they identify. But I think it's important that, as you say, you embrace your own identity. And you use that identity to then go forth into the world and say, well, this is who I am, and this is what I stand for. You spoke about people who you choose to surround yourself with. Very important in terms of having an environment that is conducive to growth. You also touched on issues like family values. Be clear on an environment. When you come home, how do you want to treat your wife? And I think this speaks to not only discipline, but also deliberate conscientization of a kind of person that you want to be. You also gave a very important quote. You said, do what we can with what we have where we are. It was a quote from Roosevelt. And I think that's very important. Like you say, we all come from different backgrounds, and we are not the same in any regard. And so when we want to do good, I don't think we should say, well, when I become CEO, then I'm going to open doors for people. I think you used the example of Bralot, and because I knew him personally, I knew that when he gave people chances, he never thought when he gave you an opportunity, when he ensured the bursary, he didn't think, well, what's in it for me? If I help, Nyati, what can I get out of it? I don't think that ever even crossed his mind. And as BMF members, that is part of our spirit of generosity, that when we give with no expectation of receiving. And I think that is something that, will always stand Bralot in good stead, because he had this spirit of generosity. He always gave and gave and gave, and he never ever thought, if I give, what will I get for it? So I think that's an important lesson. And I think lastly, just to touch on the Black Lives Matter, because I would be remiss as a Black person to not speak on the BLM. It's a movement that has gained traction in the United States, but it's something that the BMF has, we've spoken about Black Lives Matter way before it was a hashtag or a trend. Way before it was sexy or fashionable to talk about Black Lives Matter. The BMF has been yelling its voice hoarse on the importance of Black people. So if anybody can teach anybody about, taking this movement forward, it's South Africans. And I think that we undervalue our collective bargaining power. So we are a demographic majority, but we don't leverage on that in the various forms that it takes. And then I think just in closing, to say, self-mastery is something that we need to constantly be aware of. We have to constantly work on, and we must always be focused in that regard. So I think I'd like to close on that, and I hope that I must say immensely, I enjoyed your session. I've learned so much, and I hope that I've captured you in what you've said, because you've spoken, and there's been hundreds of comments. We've got 195 people on the line still. We started off with 200 and odd. So really, this is something that I hope Monday you will pick up again. And we can have a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4, because really this was truly, sorry, last thing I want to say, hashtag bet on a Darkie, definitely we must trend. Thanks, Monday.
Thanks, DP. Thank you very much to everyone who's on the platform. At some point, we were close to 320 people on the platform, and they really took it very seriously, and they gave us their time, and Babu Nyati, you gave us your time and your input, and we thank the leadership of the trust. We thank the leadership of the BMF for enabling these kind of opportunities for us to engage at this level in the comfort of our own homes. Who thought would be here in such a short space of time? But here we are because of the kind of climate we are in. So definitely personal mastery is very key, going to become very, very key. I know many people who don't like to self-reflect, but we're in that stage where we need to deeply self-reflect and check the kind of values that we have, and are they impactful, and do we resonate again with one another to build a better South Africa and a better future for us all. Having said that, we did promise that we'll play the video again so that everyone can hear it. And very lastly, BMF has a YouTube page, and so you'll find this and many other webinars that we've done on the BMF National YouTube page, and you can follow the BMF on all social media pages. You can follow the trust as well on the Facebook page. So thank you very much, and enjoy your evening as we close out with the words of Lord Ndlovu.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present you Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you Lord Ndlovu. May you please give him a standing.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began.